Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Thunderstock Show. It's a collection of valuable brainstorms to enhance your life, liberty, and pursuit of property. This season is all about talking with EOS implementers about how they use the Get It One It Has capacity tool and People Analyzer and look at who are the right clients to have in their practice, as well as tips and tricks on how they work on their business, not just in it. Today's special guest is Jason Williams. Jason is an EOS implementer based out of Virginia. He is also in Outgrow Advisory. He is a skillful person with a lens and a camera in his hands. And I'm excited to talk to you, Jason. Thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for having me, Ross. I appreciate it.
So, as someone that has a background owning your own business, being an entrepreneur, at what point in your journey did you realize that being an EOS implementer, you were the right person for that seat? Did you know that that was the next stage?
So, yeah, it was kind of interesting. My intent. So when I found Traction, I didn't know an implementer was a thing. We launched it in two of my companies, and at some point, I just went, man, this works so well. It's done so much for me. I'd love to coach this at some point. And then I went, I wonder how you do that, or if there's anything to do that. And I started doing some research, and my intent was to depart my prior career in 5 years. It was a 5 year objective. In EOS, we use something called a Colby, which is kind of a how you work assessment, similar to Working Genius or some of those. And I am a 9 quick start. I proved that when I found this. 3 months later, I was at boot camp, and I was so my 5 year plan was finished in three months, and I jumped in really because of the freedom that it gave me as a business owner. I was able to, I could leave for a few weeks at a time from my business, not contact the office. The office didn't call me, and everybody just executed. And that was 100% because of EOS. Because prior to, my phone rang at dinner, it rang on vacation, it rang at night. Like, it was constantly needing me. And so finding that freedom, I wanted to share it with some other people.
So when we talk about working on your business versus just working in your business, you've experienced both ends of the spectrum where a lot of people that own and operate a business really hit the ceiling with, like what you said in the early days before EOS of, hey, I've only got so many hours a day and I'm always answering calls, and you feel like your business is running you. Now that you are an EOS implementer and you do other executive coaching and consulting, things like that with Outgrow. But like, what are some of the ways that working on your business looks different than maybe it did when you were, full-time owner of your prior business?
I tell I tell my owners now, I probably yell this at them at least once a session. When you watch a professional football team, does the coach ever take his headset and go take a pass? Answer is no. And our job as owners is to coach the team and develop the team. And there's a part of me now that looks at it as incredibly selfish when I take over. Like, oh, I can do it better. I'm going to get involved, instead of me going, why don't I give my guys or my girls an opportunity to be successful and to learn this skill and to take the wisdom I have. And instead of taking that wisdom and experience and doing, I can take that wisdom and experience and develop and give them an opportunity. And the crazy part is it grows them and gives me freedom. Like, it's a combination.
Whereas when you step in and you know that you should be sitting in the owner's box or the coach on the sideline
Yeah.
and advising and guiding, but when you step in, it's a lose-lose because it doesn't help them to grow and improve, and it takes away potentially your focus on your actual, highest and best use time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's such an interesting frame as working in your business when you ought not to be, as a selfish. Like, I've never thought of that before, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the illustration helps too, because can you imagine watching an NBA game and the coach taking off his jacket and stepping onto the court?
Not without some serious fines and penalties.
Yeah. And it would just never happen. Like,
Right.
because that's not their skill set. For what it used to be their skill set. There's a good example. I haven't even talked about that before. It used to be their skill set. And so when you started a painting company, maybe you painted then, but that's no longer your primary role in the company, and it shouldn't be. And I look at one of the companies that I own as a high-end photography company. Candidly, my team that shoots is better than me now. I hired better than me. I shouldn't pick up a camera. I did one time last year, and I shouldn't have. I should have just let the team do it. So yeah, that's we need to do what we're there what we are best served to do that serves the entire community or ecosystem of our work. And that is to lead and develop, not to do.
Yeah, it's right people, right seat, not right people, right 6 seats per person.
Yeah.
That's such
Well,
a
it goes to
yeah.
let go of the vine too. If you're truly letting go of the vine, then you don't have to jump in and do it again. And we also have to get comfortable with watching our team struggle or make mistakes. Like it's okay to let them make a mistake and to not, have 10 out of 10 service the entire time. An 8 out of 10 service moment is a teaching tool that will grow into more 10 out of 10 service opportunities.
Well, and when you have an 8 out of 10 service and you learn what could have been better and you make it up to the person, right? Then I always look at them as like a Bob Ross, the painter,
Yep.
mistakes is happy
Happy,
accidents.
happy accidents.
Because if you can fix something and then you can delight them, they may be more likely to tell their friends and leave you a positive review if you go back and fix it, right? And you learn. But to that point, this applies to whatever industry it is when you go from player to coach or when you go from individual contributor to leadership, whatever it looks like. It's like I had somebody today ask me like, "Hey, how strong are you at copywriting?" And I'm like, "Well, I used to be awfully good when that was what I did all the time. But now I'm pretty good at leading and managing copywriting as a fractional CMO. So, what are some of the strengths that you had to keep in your athletic career in this analogy, right? When you were an individual contributor as like the owner, you had to kind of like let sit and not focus on, I don't want to say unlearn, but unuse. And then net new skills and attributes to develop as an EOS implementer with what you're doing.
Yeah, I think I know EOS implementers, we're supposed to burn the boats and like just focus on EOS and all that, but most of us do not seem to have the capability to do just one thing. And so I'm part owner of a boat dealership. I own a photography company. So we'll use those as an example.
Hmm.
Boat dealership, the other owners of that really wanted me to move in and run that company. They wanted me as CEO. And I wanted to do it because it sounded like fun. I mean, for Pete's sake, it's boats. So I really had to step back and go, you know what? I am going to cripple this company if I do it.
Mm.
Because first of all, I'm not going to be fully engaged in that role. And we want somebody that's fully engaged and passionate about that role. And second, it's going to take away from other things that I'm really, really good at. And so, one thing that Gino did, the Johari window is where we draw a box and we cut it into fourths. And then we talk about what are we great at and we love to do.
Right.
I won't go into all of it. That's the box we're supposed to live in. I sat with Gino one day and Gino said that or I can't remember if that was when I was sitting with him or he went up to stage to speak after that. So I might be getting him confused. But he said that no, it was with me. He had taken the box of the things that he was great at and loved to do, and he started marking things out of that box and narrowing it down to what does he really love and what is he really good at. And essentially,
Mm.
he's down to, at the time we talked, which I think was 2 years ago, it was speaking,
Mhm.
and he does what I do now. He just does it for a lot bigger ticket. So that's what he wanted to do. That's what he's best at. And that's what he fills him up and makes him happy. I think he's got a very light client load, but that's what he wanted to do. And so I think that's the important thing is that we really narrow it down. You asked what skills, like if you look at the photography company that I own, I'm currently in the owner's box. I attend finance meeting and I attend one staff meeting per month. And that's just because the team's a little bit green, but for the
Mhm.
most part, they've got it. That's all I do. Well, I had to put away my camera. I owned that company for about 20 years. I'm a pretty accomplished, award-winning photographer, but that's not what I'm best at. It's just
It
what I'm really good at. And so I took somebody new and trained them, and now I had to let go. And candidly, I think she's better than me. I think we've gotten to the point she at least has matched me. And she didn't know what I know. She didn't have all of my education and experience and all that, but she's matching me and some of her sales have exceeded mine. And so that's the power of letting go. And my income is, I don't know, X what it used to be when I was
Mhm.
full time doing that business. I've significantly increased my income because I chose to focus on what I'm best at, not what I'm good at.
That's a really important point to drill down and focus on because, like what you said with Johari window, it's easy to delegate what you're not good at and you hate to do, right?
Yeah.
Anyone can do that. Like,
Yeah.
that's step one. It's harder yet to do. I think one of the windows is what you're good at and you like to do, like,
Yep.
lukewarm.
That's the top right window.
That's you like for me, that's kind of hard because then you're starting to get in the ballpark of like, But for a lot of people, once they get to a certain stage, that's easier. But to do what you and Gino did and take from excellent at, really good at to the
Yep.
best, I think that is an unlock. That is a key point. But you're right. Like when you pick the right things to be the best at, you can 5x.
Well, there's residual impact from this too. So I'm gonna derail your whole podcast here,
Go
but
for it.
you were asking about like using the GWC to figure out who our clients are. And it applies to Outgrow and EOS, but it's just a little heavier on the Outgrow side. But the EOS people will get a takeaway from this.
Hmm.
In Outgrow, we charge based on what the ROI is going to look like. In
Right.
EOS, we're flat, but then
Yep.
once we raise our price, we have to keep it.
Yep.
However, the more we focus on million to $2 million companies, the less likely they're going to pay a premium fee.
Correct.
The more that we focus on $25 million companies, the more that they're going to be willing to pay a premium fee or 50 million or 100 million. And the more of those people they talk to, because people who own $50 million companies talk to other people who own $50 million companies.
Correct.
The problem is we're so impatient that we will take, or we're so desperate that we will
Mm.
take a client that can barely afford to pay us, complains all the time, super high maintenance, and doesn't even give us a great reputation in the community just because we were desperate rather than being patient and waiting on the top left. This is the top left window in clientele choosing the ones that are great that we love working with and can easily afford our services. And so that's a residual effect. So the more that we can lean into that whole concept, for your life, for your fitness, for your priorities, for your family, for all of it, the payback is exponential.
Well, it's like the same concept as holding on to the camera. If you never let go of the camera, I would assume you would not have 5x'd the revenue,
No possible way.
right? For anyone listening, if you hold on to that client you said yes to when you felt from a place of desperation, like you needed it, and you know they're not a good fit, maybe they're an okay fit. But like you said, they don't check the boxes of, and whether we want to use the analogy of GWC for marketing an ideal client, which could be, the size, the industry, do
Right.
you like
Right.
them? Do they like you? Whatever the filtering tool you want to analyze the client. But when you say yes to suboptimal, you don't make room for optimal. And that's part of what I'm hearing from you with your examples of your journey.
Yep. 100%. And it's an even bigger impact in Outgrow because if I close a $5 million company, if it's the same margins, I 10x at a $50 million company. My paycheck 10x's at a $50 million. Why would I bother with little tiny companies if I have the ability to engage with? But it's patience. I got one company I'm working on right now. It's 200 million for the branch, 34 billion for the whole organization, and I've been working on it for 6 months, 7 months now. Like it's a long sales cycle. I have to be very patient and wait for what is best for me instead of grabbing what is good for me.
And to that point, too, Jason, this is for everyone listening. It's like if you are your unique ability and your skill set and your experience, you can knock it out of the park with a $50 million a year company. You're doing no one favors working with a five. You're not doing yourself a favor. You're not really even helping the 5 million because they might be looking at like, okay, why is Michael Jordan coaching, high school basketball when he could be the head coach of, a college team or whatever, right?
Well, I think you get bored doing it too.
Right.
I love, like, I've got a client that was 367,000. One of my very first clients that I picked up, even before I had an office or a conference room. They actually, I think they are just now stepping out like 3.5 years later, 4 years later. They're about to do it on their own. But that was fine for then. But I would never take that client today. If that client came to me, I'd be like, this isn't a fit. I would hand them to another implementer that was new. So it's fun, but I've got skills that exceed that now. I didn't then, I was new.
And on the other side of it too, though, there are folks that, maybe their sweet spot is helping those $5 million. I have a buddy who's a fractional CMO. He really works with companies that cap out at like a million, million five. He just does a lot of them because he's really good and he's efficient with his time. So then he can do more. Like for an EOS implementer, I would assume it's true that when you're just getting started, or maybe you don't have the confidence or the stack of evidence, if you can handle your lower ticket rate, but you can do a lot of the sessions, you can increase your skill set. So one of the questions I have for you is, now that you're where you're at in your journey, where you have got multiple business interests going on, what is working on your, not just your EOS practice, like, because you have multiple business you have to work on, but like, how do you schedule your quarter, your week, your year with planning to juggle the businesses? I would assume you're a visionary, right? This is kind of like a master class in prioritization for visionaries.
Yeah. I have this is really Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time is a great book. And it's something that I think my father taught me younger, although he was the cheapest man to ever live. So I'm not sure he actually taught me that skill because he didn't really pay for anything. But efficiency is what he taught me. And so I hired a practice manager and I got the correct skill set for that job. It took me a couple hires to get it right. And I got the right person, right seat, 100%. And she, like, I don't even schedule anything. I had somebody text me today and say, "Do you have time Wednesday for a call?" I said, "Yes, but you got to talk to my practice manager. She does scheduling." And so, really, the way that I manage it is with people by coaching and not playing the game. Like, I
Mm.
developed her skill sets. I mean, she came out with natural skill sets, but then we worked together to develop the skills that it took to manage my life and everything I've got going on. And so, honestly, that's how we do it. And vacations are scheduled out, like my days off and all that kind of stuff. I schedule those things out pretty well. And then she works everything else out for me.
So going to the sports analogy, you have really strong offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, special teams. You have like the practice manager. Like it's not just right people, right seats for it's right people, right seats as like integrators on call for each business, so that you're then managing the right people and not having to go down to like the entire leadership team necessarily. So it's like another step above. But then again, time management and calendar. So really investing in your people and your development like a coach would enables you to go from, a one business owner to a multiple business owner.
Yeah, and there's a big part of that to investing in yourself. Like I was an EO, and that's personal develop or business development. I switched to C12 because of my faith. It was a better fit for me, and so I'm in C12 now. So I spend 1 hour a month and then a full day a month every month in developing me with my coach, and then I've got that day that's set aside. So that's personal development. The vacation is just time to get away and think and do that. So I've scheduled a good bit of time that's separate, but then I work really hard when I'm present. I also have the cheat code of not being married and having grown children. So that also is significant. I feel like I got to throw that out there and go, guys, it's significantly easier for me because I don't have the pressures of family life at this point in my no grandkids yet. So I'm kind
Oh,
of
wow.
cruising. Yeah, I'm in that. I got a gap where empty nest and then no grandkids yet. So I'm taking
So
full.
your capacity is just uniquely beneficial. The capacity part on your own person, like if you analyze where you're at with your seat, is like looking great from a time and energy and
It's
ability to get
insanely
stuff done.
high. It will
Yeah.
never be this high again in my life. Like I'm at peak performance in terms of capacity to do all this, but I'm also like with two franchise-based businesses and two real businesses looking at buying a third real business. It's still well, it's a load
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that I've got to carry as grandkids come. We're hoping to see that maybe the next year or two. Then I just have to get more intentional. The
Mhm.
bigger you get, the more that you grow, the more intentional you have to be about what you spend your time on. And I've checked everything. I mean, friends. I've had to go, am I spending the right time with the right people? And that was one of my shifts from EO to C12,
Mm.
getting around more people that had shared value. There's some great guys in EO, don't get me wrong, but there's also people who don't
Right.
share my values. And so that was a shift. So being very intentional with your time, I think is really, really important. That is my word for the year, by the way, is intentional. So that's a
Yeah, you don't just grow on accident. To the point that you had talked about how capacity looks in this season of life. When you had kids that were maybe teenagers or even, younger, you were still there was a time where you were a business owner and you were raising younger children, right? So it looked differently.
yep, it
What
did look different.
but like how did you either there's a self-awareness component to this question. You know that your capacity is at an all-time high, so you're making these plays to continue to expand and be intentional with what you have. When your time looked different, you still made gains and it's, got to where you're at today. But what did your working on the business look like when you maybe had, less capacity to just do business, right? You had other family obligations or whatever it looked like. Like, did the same principles apply? You just had to kind of look in the mirror and be honest, or did you learn the hard way? And what did you learn?
No, I didn't do a very good job of it. So I think so I went through a divorce when my kids were 4, nope, 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 6, 8, and 10. And so I think that was the time when I really started kind of buckling down. And we didn't have a bad marriage. There's a story behind what happened. And she moved on, I moved on. But that's when I really buckled down and started getting focused because I think I depended. This is probably good for some married guys out there. I was really dependent on her to handle family and I handled business.
Mm,
And so what happened that was really good about the divorce, that's weird to say, is I had the kids Friday after school through Monday at noon. So Friday noon, Monday noon was my schedule. And I was completely focused on the kids. The work went away, but Monday afternoon until Friday afternoon, I was 12 hours a day. Like
yep.
I went hard on business and very few times did I sacrifice the kids. So that's when I started narrowing the focus and really going, okay, what's important to me? And it just got better and better with wisdom. I'm 53 now and I wish I had this brain, but my 22-year-old self, that'd be a cool combo, but I don't. And here we are. And I've learned a ton, but it was not from doing it right the whole time.
Well, there's a theme. It's you had to say no during certain windows of time, which were when you have your kids, you're not putting in 12 hours on a Saturday because you're focused on your kids, right? So you're
Right.
saying no. It stands true to people that are listening when we're talking about right fit for clients or right people, like having that standard where you just have a firm no. I feel like there's people, it's the same thing with if you're using the wants it, it's either a heck yes or a heck no. Like, you don't want to drag somebody through and just hard sell them on EOS and try and persuade them. You probably want somebody that like already wants it.
Well, there's actually like, there's a common saying, if you drag them in, you'll drag them along. That's what we say.
Right.
Uh, I've told a matter of fact, I told a client, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago that were dragging their feet. I basically said, never mind, we're not going to work together. And one of my core values outside of EOS, this is in my other company, but it is who I am, is we respect each other's time and we respect our clients' time. And this particular client had been late and kept saying he was going to do things and didn't follow through. And I'm at the point in my career where I can see it now. Like this is not going to be good for either one of us.
Mm,
I sent him a note and I said, hey, it's been great talking to you. I think EOS would be great for you. I don't think it's a fit for us though at this time. I'd be happy to refer you to other implementers. And I never heard from him again. And that's fine. I'll see him around the community. I know him. I like him a lot. He's a great guy. But the team, there's some pushback on price and the guy's a multimillionaire. And I'm like, I'm not sure they're really seeing what I'm seeing here. But yeah, we bailed.
interesting. Yeah, I also think that to that same point, you've had enough experiences through your career with wisdom that there's been pattern recognition. I know that hindsight's 2020 and there's been, I've said either to prospects or clients like, "Hey, I don't think this is the right fit. This is what I suggest." And I always wish I could have saw the signs sooner. And I think the older, more experienced people get, the easier it is to get that pattern recognition. But what are some of the patterns you recognize now that you have the wisdom experience where it's like, this is going to be a slam dunk, green flag, like home run, baby. Why I wake up and do what I do.
Some of the patterns have become clear and some of them have become more confusing. I've had one client that I've been talking to for 2 years. They finally started. And even when they started, we've got aging owners that are aging out of the business that they excluded from bringing in the leadership team to make the changes. And I was like, this does not. I had candid conversations with them. I was like, do you guys have the ability to make these decisions or is it going to all get derailed when you go back to the office?
Mhm.
And they said, no, we can do this. And so I was like, with a lot of hesitation, I brought them on. It's been fantastic. They've been a great team to work with. And I really saw some red flags on that team. I told them I saw red flags. So maybe one of the things is I'm calling it out I met with a team this morning. I did a 90-minute meeting with the team this morning and I called it out. And I said, look, everybody in this room, there's only 4 people. I said, everybody in the room's got to be 100% in. You got to be all in. And I'm not afraid to lose them anymore. I'm like, if you're not
Mm,
all in, please don't do this. But there's a sales technique there too.
yeah,
Right here on my desk is a sticky note that says go for no. And
right.
that's kind of what I did today. I kind of went, look, I don't want this if you guys don't want it, which instantly makes them go, whoa, wait. Maybe we do
The
want this.
the the take back close.
Yeah, it's the take back close.
And the other one I like is damaging admissions. Like, hey, I'm gonna call you out. I'm gonna enter the danger. It
Yep.
might be uncomfortable. And like, oh, we want that.
Yeah.
But you're putting your cards on the table. And I think what you said, one of the things, throughout your experience and your story has been the more that you're comfortable with being uncomfortable in terms of saying no is okay. I'm okay if we walk away. The more you reduce desperation and the more that you let go and delegate, that seems to be a common theme in your growth and clients' growth.
Yeah. Real estate agents call it commission breath when they can tell you just want to make the sale. Yeah, I don't have that at all anymore. But also, like if I look at my year, like my year's pretty much mapped out.
Hmm.
We have a built-in attrition rate now. Out of my experience, I know that this many sessions is probably going to be canceled. We know how many we want to bring on. I'm really comfortable with where I'm at, and so when I go in, I'm like, "Hey, take it or leave it. Somebody else is going to take your spot." So I, I don't say that, but that's my attitude, and it does help you sell significantly.
This is such an I'm glad the conversation went here on knowing your numbers. So with people in EOS, they know that when you get 4 VTHs or like, warm introduction calls, you get 2 90-minute. Every two
Right?
90-minute like thing, you get one customer. And that's pretty universally true. And then the implementer needs to figure out how many leads, marketing qualified leads do you need to get to the other 4. And then once you have that number, let's say the number is you need 12, right? Well, if you get six no's right back to back to back, but with enough certainty that the next 6, 4 out of 6 of them are going to be yeses, you don't really feel like you're in the dumps. And
Yeah,
I think when I work with people in a market, whether it's marketing or whether it's podcast or whatever the thing that you do, I'm sure with photography, not every picture you took and every single shot was an award-winning one. But if you take 100 photos in a shot, a handful of them are going to be like slam dunk no brainers. So I think part of it's knowing your numbers, and with your organizational health checkup, the people that are saying they're 100% healthy in their first day are, one, why are you here? Two, what are we lying about? Right? Are you being honest?
right. Yeah. That's, I said, I spoke to a group, I just came back from Oklahoma City, spoke to a group of 30 business owners up there for a full day. And I told them, I said, you don't need to be in the room if you've already got it all together. If you're not experiencing any kind of pain right now, there's a speaker in the other room. I think he's great. And I would recommend him because I'm here to talk to people who are struggling in some way and need help.
Yeah. One real quick thing to that point is one of my earliest clients when I was a fractional CMO had an MBA in marketing, and this person loved being in the marketing seat in their company. And if knowing what I know now, right, I would have been like, oh, well, then you don't need my help. Like, you love this. We don't need to fight for
Yeah.
the same seat. But again, that's such a great way to look at working on your business, which is one, knowing what to say no to, knowing what to delegate, knowing your numbers, and then being okay with the alternative. So with that being said, Jason, really appreciate your time. One last question is, how can people contact you, get in touch, learn more?
You can find me on the EOS website. I mean, that's an easy way. Sixstonescoaching.com, the number 6 coaching.com will bring you to our website that we manage ourselves. And then you can see links to Outgrow and to EOS. And I think not just for myself, but for the community, pretty much any EOS implementer will meet with you for free and talk you through some of the struggles that you're having right now, draw some parallels. We have an insane number of resources that are out right now. I'm going to hold this one up, but the issues one just came out, so you can find those on the EOS website. There's people issues data. There's a bunch of books now. So dig in. If any of this is interesting to you, or if someone is feeling overwhelmed with their business, the worst thing you could do is not read the book Traction and some of these resources and just find an implementer that works for you. If you're in the Virginia Beach area, I'd love to meet with you. If you're outside the area, find a local one or reach out to me and I'll connect you with one. So really the community is very supportive and we want everybody to be successful that's doing an entrepreneurial endeavor or any other implementer. So It's kind of more of a shout out for the community than for me personally.
Very good. Well, thank you, Jason. And thank you, everyone, for listening. I don't run ads in the show. My only ask is that if you found value, share it with a friend. Until next time, be well.